What's up, everybody? This is Sports by David, and today I just wanted to talk about this Lakers playoff run and what I think they should do in this coming off season. But first things first, I definitely just wanted to tip my hat off to the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic proved that I mean, not proved, but he just showed us that he's probably one of the best players in the world. He's a two-time MVP for a reason. And Murray proved to us that he's just not a bubble superstar or anything like that, that wasn't a fluke, that he's really a superstar in this league. And the two of them together were definitely a matchup nightmare for the Lakers. And their supporting cast and Michael Porter Jr. hitting big time shots, KCP playing well, and even Aaron Gordon, defending and even hitting a couple shots on his in that last game, especially. I think just their whole team overall, from a depth perspective, their superstars, their coach, they're playing really hard. They're hungry. They want it, and they showed the whole NBA that they're here for real. They're not just a playoff second round playoff exit or anything like that. That they might have something brewing over there in Denver for years to come. And they played, like I said, they played extremely well, and you got to tip your hat off to that team because I think they're going to win it all. More so than likely, the Heat are coming out of the East, so I think they take out the Heat. But yeah, it's a great basketball team. And now from the Lakers side of things, LeBron and AD definitely demonstrated their toughness. I know Laker fans always criticize AD for injuries or falling all the time or doing certain things, but I tip my hat off to both of them. LeBron James at 38 years old and with an ankle injury, you know, he really carried this team more times than not, dropping 40 in this last game, but just playing big. I mean, he averaged 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists throughout this whole playoff series, which is insane to think about at 38 years old. And AD had 22 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 blocks throughout this playoff run. And a lot of the stuff that he did, I think, for this Lakers team doesn't show up on the stat line. He altered shots, played great defense, switched out on Curry, would guard Jokic. Like there's different things that he did from a defensive standpoint that I think a lot of people kind of miss. And he was even, playing through a couple little nagging injuries of his own. So those two superstars, I think they really did their thing. And I know we had, AR and Rui play extremely well for us uh, throughout this playoff series, hitting big time shots and playing good defense or whatever it may be. But it just seemed like in this Denver series that we were kind of missing that punch, that that third star maybe, or just that third contributor in a sense. And I think it was D'Angelo Russell, right? Like so, D'Lo played great. He played pretty well, I think, in the first two rounds of the playoffs. He averaged 13 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds throughout this, or 2.9 rebounds, but throughout the whole entire playoff series or playoff run. And I think we missed that more so in this Nugget series, right? He was kind of a little bit of a liability on the defensive side of the ball, and he didn't really show up for us offensively. And I think the Lakers missed that because we got that in the Warriors series and we got that in the Grizzlies series, but kind of just didn't show up in this conference finals, and that kind of impacted the Lakers a bit. But I think you just got to you tip your hat off to this whole team and for going on this run. They, I mean, this team was essentially assembled basically at the trade deadline from Rob Pelinka. They didn't have a whole lot of chemistry together. They're a lot of younger guys, but got all these new pieces in at the trade deadline, went on this playoff run, exerted so much energy into trying to make the playoffs, eventually the playing game, and then, having tough matchups in the first round. Like I said, with a young, hungry Grizzlies team. I know they had their off court issues happening and they're missing Adams, but a lot of energy expended on that game or that series. Going to the second round, you face the defending champs. LeBron has history with Curry and all of them. So I think they had exerted a lot of energy, and I think just this final round, they just ran out of gas at 38 years old, and AD, I mean, he just did a lot. I think that doesn't show up on the stat line. So I tip my hat off to this whole Lakers team, and even D'Lo. The Lakers would never made the Western Conference Finals without his big games in the first two rounds. Um, And I know like we would want him to show up in like one of the most important series, right? Um, in the Western Conference Finals, but don't get there without D'Lo. So I think you even got to tip your hat off to him for what this team did. Basically being assembled at the trade deadline and having that good run, and playing hard, and just came up short in the end, and unfortunately led to a sweep from a great Denver team who's played multiple years together. So I don't think you can discredit them, or even hate on them in any sense. But looking ahead, so we had a great playoff run. Didn't expect to be in the Western Conference Finals at all. Um, but now we have this offseason approaching, and we can see these two options kind of laid out in front of us. Initially, when I saw the Lakers fall short in the Western Conference Finals, I thought, okay, Kyrie's in the crowd, Trey Young's in the crowd. We need to go get one of those guys. If we had a third punch, we would have beat this Denver Nuggets team. And in the moment or during that time, I was like, yeah, we need one of these guys, a third superstar to uplift this team and to close out games or whatever it may be. Because LeBron doesn't. I mean, he's a more of a passer, right? Likes to get everybody involved. He'll still have his impact on the game. And AD is when he's hot, he can really close out things offensively, but he's a defensive minded player, and they both don't have that like offensive killer instinct. I mean, they'll still put up big numbers and they can lead you to a championship, and we've seen that before. But initially, like I said, I thought, okay, we need that guy who's an offensive punch, which is a Kyrie Irving, which could potentially be a Trey Young, and then if you want to reach a little bit, a Damian Lillard. So that's what I thought initially. Okay, let's go get one of these guys if we can. Thinking in my head like that's what the Lakers are missing, but a day passed. You kind of see the situations that all these players are in, meaning Kyrie Irving, Trey Young, and Damian Lillard. They're to acquire one of them is ridiculous. I think it's so expensive from a free agent standpoint. And Kyrie, I don't know, like it'd have to either be a sign and trade or he would have to take a pay cut to come to this team. Because I was thinking, okay, run it back with LeBron, AD, try to keep maybe Rui Hachimura or Anthony or Austin Reeves and bring in Kyrie, but it's not too realistic. And then when you think about Trey Young, you have to trade to go get him, right? So who are the Lakers going to give up for Trey Young? We don't have the most assets. We gave up a lot of that during the Russell Westbrook, the Anthony Davis trade. So how would we go get Trey Young? Will it be, I don't know, an Austin Reeves or one of those guys in two firsts, or maybe a sign and trade with D'Lo for and two first for Trey Young? I think there would be another team out there that could offer more in a package. So I don't think that's realistic, but that is an option the team can go, and we've seen that before with Russell Westbrook. I think Trey Young and Kyrie Irving are far better fits than Russell Westbrook, but at the price, I don't know if the Lakers really want to do that again, and gut their team for a superstar that may work out, you know, in this franchise and with this team. But option B is the option that I like. And, I think that's the one everybody wants because we don't want our team to get gutted. And that's re sign Austin Reeves, re sign Rui Hachimura. Obviously, you have Max Christie, who's going to be a second year player who can shoot the ball. He can score very well. He's a willing defender. I think if he adds like a little bit more muscle, he'd be a better defender. Um, and then you could still have the flexibility to, tweak the roster to however you like to add that depth to address those issues that you had during this playoff run. And I mean, you could potentially bring back D'Angelo Russell because, like I said, we wouldn't have gone to the Western Conference Finals without him. And giving him a full training camp with Austin Reeves, Hachimura, AD, LeBron, Christie, those guys I think would be extremely beneficial, and you could see their chemistry build. Say you don't want to sign him. Maybe the no show in the Western Conference Finals was a lot. You want to move on from him. We still need to address the need for a big man, right? So thinking about the big mans available, you got Brooke Lopez, Nikola Vukovic, and Nas Reed, who I like personally, like all three of those guys. Might be a stretch because they're pretty good. Although they're a little bit older, they're still probably going to stay with the teams that they're on. But then you kind of look down the list, and there's guys like Dwight Powell and Mason Plumlee, who I think are a little bit more realistic in getting. Um, they are older, so you could probably get them on a cheaper deal. But you address the need at the big man, right? So now we're thinking about the guards that are available, and the guards that I personally like are Gary Trent Jr., Max Strus, Seth Curry, and Jordan Clarkson. Now I don't know what their dollar amount's going to be, but if you can potentially snag one of them, I feel like you get a lot of like offensive firepower. Max Strus, maybe not so much, but Seth Curry's a deadly shooter. Jordan Clarkson could definitely bring, just that offensive firepower. We've seen him do it with the Jazz, even with the Lakers when he used to play for us, but he's a far better player now. But my favorite on the top of the list is Gary Trent Jr. He is, you know, the guy that's been linked to the Lakers in multiple rumors in the past, but it's just never gotten there. And if he's not, an insane expensive dollar amount to sign this offseason, I would definitely try to target him because he can give you that offensive, firepower and that push. And he's always killed the Lakers whenever he's played us. So I feel like I know like what he's capable of more so just because of that. And when you think about the wings now, you need some guys that could, help defend. 3 and D guys are always, or those big, 3 and D guys are always a priority. But a guy like Kelly Oubre, who might also be too expensive, but would like to see him, with this Lakers team. I'd even bring on Dylan Brooks from the Grizzlies. He's a tough guy. He can defend and wear down some of the best wings. And he's also shown the capability of hitting big time shots. He's a 30% from three shooter. And I would like him as well on this team, although he was, the arch enemy in round one. And if he's too expensive, then you go down the list even further and you get a Jay Crowder maybe, or a guy like that who's also a good wing defender and can shoot the three. And I think he'd pair, nicely, and I think he'd be more affordable for the Lakers. For maybe a potential playoff run next season. But those are the guys I like. To address the needs that this team I think need, from the big man standpoint, from the guards, from the wings. You want guys that can defend. You want guys obviously that can shoot, and then maybe get a guard that can provide that firepower for you. But that's the team, or that's who I would want the Lakers to target. Mason Plumlee, Brook Lopez, Dwight Powell, Nikola Vukovic for the big man positions, because you need somebody to stop Joker if we see them again in the playoffs. We need the firepower that a Gary Trent or Jordan Clarkson could bring. Maybe Max Strus or Seth Curry. Yeah. And then for the wings, definitely, Kelly Oubre, Dylan Brooks, and Jay Crowder. Those are guys that I think the team should definitely try to add to this team. I personally would want to resign, to go the route of the team signing Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura rather than, and then building out the team rather than, trying to land a Kyrie Irving or a Trey Young or Dame Lillard. I mean, I'm not opposed to those things, but I just think we've seen it already with Russell Westbrook. Let's invest into these young guys, like I said, in the Reeves, Christie, Rui, and then build from there. And I mean, this team was assembled, like I said, basically at the trade deadline. They made a crazy playoff push that nobody thought they could make. And imagine if you give them a training camp. Imagine they're a little bit healthier. Imagine they got maybe a guy who's not gonna um, crack under pressure during the playoffs. He's gonna hit big time shots, or maybe they just add more shooting, or you know what I mean, a big guy for their roster, just someone, or just to fill the holes that they had during this playoff run with the full training camp, the returning, faces and team chemistry. I think this team could go on to another Western Conference Finals and maybe even just further than that and go to the finals. Because all these games with the Nuggets, I just felt like we ran out of gas. And maybe if we had a big body to alleviate the energy on the defensive side of the ball for AD or LeBron, they would have more, energy for the offense. Or maybe you have a guy that can just take the ball on the offensive side of things and say AD and LeBron are still gassed or something, and he could just provide that spark, hit some big time shots. I think this team can really go far, and we've seen that with this playoff run. But let me know what you guys think. Should the Lakers, try to go for Kyrie, Trey Young, or maybe a Damian Lillard, or should they just re-sign, you know, Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, and build out the roster from there? Let me know in the comments below. Definitely love to hear them. But until next time, this is Sports by David. Tune in and we'll cover some different topics and let me know what you guys think in the comments below.